Well, thanks for being here this weekend. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ryan. I'm one of the pastors on staff, and I'd love to meet you. Maybe say hi afterwards. And especially if you're a guest with us right now, I want to give you a little bit of a heads up on kind of where we are as a church right now. We're in a really unique series and kind of a unique moment. We call these campaigns, vision campaigns, where we kind of look at the next 3 years and try to discern kind of where we're headed and where we think God is taking us. And so we've been doing that, having those conversations for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, and we're actually going to be wrapping up that conversation today. And so I just want to give you a little heads up, maybe a little warning that today is going to feel a little bit unique, a unique experience we're going to have here in service. And so our typical weekend experiences are going to be a little different than what you're going to experience today. So just a heads up on that as we're kind of having a family conversation around kind of where we're headed, what that's going to take to get there, the reality time-wise and financially, some of all those realities we're talking about in a little bit more of a candid way than we typically would on a weekend service here at Grace. But we're pumped you're here. Just don't feel any pressure to be a part of it. You can just kind of watch it happen and get caught up. And I think you'll get a good glimpse into the heart and kind of mind of what we're all about here at Grace. Let me give you a quick review. If you've been out a few weeks, or maybe, again, this is your first time, what we've been saying is we call this whole effort, we call this For the One. And we looked at the heart of Jesus, that he left the 99 and went after the one. It's the idea that he kind of left those who have been found and went in search of the one who was lost. And we said that's what Jesus does for me. That's what he does for each of us. And that's his heart, is he's a God who seeks and saves the lost. And he goes after us in pursuit of our hearts and minds when we drift away from God. And so that's kind of what we want our church to be. That's what we want to be as a people, is we want to be a people who are for the one, that are reaching out to our community and reaching out to those maybe who have drifted far from God. And we've been talking about what that looks like. And so that shows up in some really specific ways in how we're going to approach the next few years. We said, as we go kind of reach for the one, we want to do that in a unique way. And for the first time here at our campus, we're part of a larger movement of campuses here at Grace. There's many campuses, and our big prayer and heartbeat is that we would see 30 campuses started in a 30-year window. And so here at Akron East, that's the campus that you're at right now, we have the opportunity to start a new campus here from within our campus. And that one's going to be called the Stark North Campus. It's going to kick off here in the first quarter of 26. And so there's all kinds of details about that if you missed any of that conversation. But we're fired up to go reach out for the one in a new community in kind of the South Hartville, North Canton-ish area that we're calling the Stark North Campus. We also talked last few weeks here about reaching into our community. We said that we have just gotten started here. We've only been here in this building for less than 2 years. And we said we want to continue to make space here on the weekend. We want to open up our balcony, which we have right back there in the back of the room. We also want to open a fitness center right underneath our feet here. There's a whole other level to this building. We're going to open that and make that fitness center available, and where we can kind of connect with our community in some creative ways. We said we're also going to need some more staff, another pastor in the mix. And then we talked about the next generation, looking at some of our leaders that we're hiring and retaining some of those leaders, and then renovating our gym into a student center. So that's what we've been talking about over the last several weeks now. And really what I want to do today, though, as we kind of wrap the conversation up, is I want to make sure we hear this conversation personally, right? That this isn't just something that like the church is doing. Oh yeah, Grace is doing that. We can talk that way a little bit. If you call Grace Church home, I want you to feel the invitation and even kind of God leading you to be a part of that in a way that you can respond personally, right? So this isn't something that Grace is doing. This is something that we are doing. This is something that I am a part of, right? I would love for you to be able to own the vision personally. And the reality is it takes all of us personally being a part of it for it to kind of move forward. And I think that's part of how God made this for us is he includes us in his work. He wants us to share in the joy of being a part of it and in watching lives change because we kind of follow him in all of it. So I want to dive into a story and look at the response of somebody from the Old Testament who really got to interact with God personally and watch how that person responded and owned the vision to kind of first respond to God and then see how that showed up in how he was sent out to be a part of what God was doing in the world and in the community he was in. And we're going to look at the book of Isaiah and see how this plays out. Isaiah chapter 6 is where we're going to set up shop. So if you have a Bible, you can turn there if you want to read along with us. If you don't have a Bible and you want one, you can grab one from underneath the chairs there right in front of you. Grab that, open up to Isaiah chapter 6, read along with us, and then you can take that home with you. If you need a copy of the Bible, don't have one, just take it. Literally, that's our gift to you. We'd love for you to have that. And here's what Isaiah says in Isaiah chapter 6, starting in verse 1. It says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. It says, above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings, they covered their faces. With 2, they covered their feet. And with 2, they were flying. They were calling to one another, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. And at the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke." So you get this picture where this guy from the Old Testament, this prophet Isaiah, is going to have this really kind of unique experience where he gets to interact with God, right? I don't know about you, but you kind of imagine what God is like. What would it be like to see him and have a kind of vision of what he's like? And you get this picture that Isaiah is going to show to us that he got to experience where God is high and lifted up. It says that he's on a throne, right? That the train of his robe filled this whole space, and then he has these beings, these seraphim, that are going to be hovering around him. And the seraphim were kind of a part of it, the angelic reality. So you think like there's like this hierarchy of different angels. We think the seraphim were pretty high up there. They were like a big deal because they were super close to God, and they just continually praise who God is. They would say, holy, holy, holy. And whenever the Bible uses a word repeatedly like that, especially 3 times, you get this sense of certainty that this is the real deal, right? Holy, holy, holy. God is unique. He is distinct. He is different. God, you're the only God. The seraphim are declaring this. You're the only God. You are the one worthy of our praise. You're the one who is high and lifted up. You're almighty. So that these seraphim would have been angels, and these angels, I don't know what picture you have in your head when you think of angels. Sometimes our culture depicts angels in some interesting ways, right? I don't know how we picked up on this, but they're like chubby, cute little babies, right? Baby angels, cute little baby chubby angels. And then they're just floating around real happy. That is not what we're getting here, right? You're like, this creature feels a little terrifying, right? I'm not sure what's happening, but they have 6 wings. They're flying. When they speak, the whole room shakes. That doesn't sound like baby cute little chubby thing, right? I mean, that is a different kind of creature, hard to even get our minds around, but it's powerful, powerful. And whenever the angels show up in the story, there's a sense of power and awe. And I think if we saw one, we would all be like in absolute silence, amazed at what we saw, right? And what they're doing is they're not drawing attention to themselves. They're pointing all of that attention towards God, God Almighty, right? God Almighty. And so Isaiah, he shows up in the story, and he has this vision where he's able to interact with the Lord. And something that happens whenever somebody has a vision like this in the Bible, they get to see a version of what's happening in heaven, a version of what God's like, they always walk away changed. They walk away different. And the Bible says, right, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And there's something about when I actually see God for who he really is, I'm altered by that. Right? I'm altered by that experience. And that certainly would have been true for Isaiah. He sees the Lord, and he is going to be altered by that. We're going to see that here in a second. Here's his response as we look into verse 5. He says, "Woe to me," I cried, "I am ruined." He says, "I am ruined. For I'm a man of unclean lips. I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, so a burning coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it, he touched my mouth and said, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away. Your sin is atoned for." And so Isaiah, it's fascinating, as he interacts with the Lord, what he experiences is the exposure of his sin, the exposure of his need for God, the exposure of his need for forgiveness. He says, "I'm ruined. I'm ruined. I'm shattered. All right, I'm undone by," and he recognizes how deeply he needs the Lord. And then what's awesome is God facilitates forgiveness, right? In this interaction, in this vision, he's able to receive rightness with God. He looks and right this awesome picture of the seraphim coming to him and burning away this impurity in Isaiah. Watch how Isaiah responds. This is fascinating as they interact in 6:8. It says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send? Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?' And Isaiah says, 'Here am I, send me. Here am I, send me.'" This always stood out to me because I don't know how you have felt. I've felt this way before. When my sin is exposed, when I feel shame, and I'm kind of caught, right, in whatever it is I'm guilty of. My instinct is to kind of go run away and to think I'm disqualified and to think that maybe no one could use me, or at least God couldn't use me. And what's fascinating to me is Isaiah's response is the exact opposite. He doesn't conclude, he doesn't draw this conclusion that man, God can't use me because I've been so terrible. Even though he recognizes that he's ruined because his sin's exposed, he doesn't wallow in shame. He doesn't allow himself to go down this gutter of shame that causes him to live an irrelevant life in existence. When God raises the question and says, "Hey, who should I send out into my work? Who will go for me?" Isaiah kind of forgets, he looks past his own sinfulness and says, essentially, "God, if you can use me, take me. Here's me, man, use me. Send me, I'll go. If anything you need, I'm in. I want in on it. Here am I, send me." In spite of his sinfulness, in spite of the glory of the Lord, in spite of the reality that these angelic beings saw all of the lack in Isaiah, somehow he was able to land in this place where he would say, "God, you can still use my life. You can still use my life." And guys, I think that's a place where we want to land today. I think it's a place we want to land today. I don't know about you. I didn't grow up in church, right? If you've been around, you heard me talk about that. And I've wondered at deep levels, God, could you use my life? Is my life still usable? Is what I have to offer still okay to give to you? And I don't know where you are or what your story is, right? We all come from different places. But we want to land in this place where we hear the invitation of God, because God is still asking, "Who will go for me?" He's still asking, "Whom shall I send?" He's still saying, there's work to be done. The one is out there. Who's in? Who's in for that? Who wants to be a part of reaching the lost one? I'm sounding the alarm. Who wants to be in on the response that says, here I am, send me? So as we kind of begin to wrap this whole conversation today, can we hear the invitation to be a part of this like Isaiah did? The invitation that there's a God who is real and exists and is almighty. The reality that he has seen my sin and he's chosen not to hold it against me, but he sent his own son to die for me that I might find life in him. And then he would look to you and I and he would ask us, who will go for me? Whom shall I send? Whom shall I send? What will the church do? What are you guys doing? No. Will you be in on that? Will you go for the one? That's the invitation we want to hear kind of land in our lap, in our heart, in our life. God, use my service, my prayers, my willingness, my financial resources. God, will you use me? Will you send me? Right? And here's kind of how I think of it. Right? Isaiah would look and say, I've seen the one, right? The one true God, the capital O one. And I have been the one. I've been the one that God extended his mercy and grace to. And now the question is, will I go for the one? Right? I've seen the one, I've been the one, and now the question is, will I go for the one? And that's the question that lands in our court. Will I be in on this? And what we've been talking about, guys, for the last several weeks is the reality of this opportunity that we have. We have an enormous harvest field that we're in the middle of. We're going to have a new campus start, and right here at Akron East, there's enormous opportunity. We would say this, that over 200,000 people between the two campuses aren't connected to a gospel-centered church. And God would say, whom shall I send? Whom shall I send? And our response can be, Lord, send me. I can't do everything that everybody else can do, but I can do something. I don't have all the time or all the money but I can do this. I can do my part in it. And when a whole bunch of people led by God's Spirit do their part, man, really powerful stuff happens. Stuff that doesn't really make any sense. Stuff that you can look back on a few years later when I think about what God has done, even here at Akron East for the last few years, we can look back and say, man, God, how did you do that? It's a bunch of people that would look and say, here am I, send me. What we call this at Grace a lot is we call this a predetermined yes. Predetermined yes. See, Isaiah didn't even ask what the question was. He didn't ask what the assignment was. By the way, Isaiah's assignment would be very difficult. He didn't even ask for the details. I'll say yes if I know exactly what you're going to ask me to do, God. Can you show me the contract real quick and I can make sure, fine print? He's like, I'm in. What's the question again? I'm in. Where are we going? I'm in. What's it going to cost me? I'm in. That was because he's seen the Lord. He's ruined. He's ruined. See, here's it. When you interact with the Lord, you can't approach your life the same way ever again. Because the old you is dead, and you have a new life. That's what the gospel says. The old me is gone. That me is gone. There's a new life now. And that new me, that new life that exists within me is going to look and ask the Lord, where can I go? How can I be in? Would you be willing to use some of what I have to offer, even if it just feels like it's the scraps of my life? So how do we do this, right? Let's go back and look at it. We talked about this last week as we're talking about kind of together going for the one. Here's the commitment we invited everybody into. I'll just review them, right? That we want to look and say, who's going to stay on purpose here at Akron East or who's going to go on purpose to the new campus, right? We know there's about 75 people that are going to go to start this new church, basically. There's going to be a gap left, and a bunch of us are going to have to fill that gap together through service, through giving, and through leadership, to say we've got to fill back in so we can continue to reach our community here. Who's going to go? Who's going to stay? I know some of you have told me you're right in the middle of really seeking the Lord about that decision. I love that. God honors that search, by the way. He loves that you're seeking his will, his best for your life. Let us know where you're landing with that. Are you going to go or are you going to stay? Here's the next one. This serving opportunity we talked about, we gave you this pledge pack last week, and we tried to do our best to kind of capture a whole bunch of opportunities, serving opportunities, ways that you can fill that gap that's going to be left, or there's open opportunities that you can jump in and fill in, be a part of. Right? Let us know what you're interested in. We're going to follow up with you here in this next week and connect with you and try to help you find your way to that impact. You might have something that you have a passion for. It's not on this list. Write it in. Write it in. You're allowed to do that, right? Write it in the margins and say, I really want to do this. Or I want to have a conversation about this thing. I have a creative idea. Write it in there. We don't care, right? You're allowed to break the rules. Do it, right? Just write it in there. This is the stuff that we know about. You let us know what's on your heart, and maybe we can partner with you if that makes sense, right? Serving, being a part of it, saying, God, here, use what I have. We know there's musicians going to the new campus. If you play an instrument, you need to tell us, folks, okay? I see you, right? I'm just saying, no, if you can do something musically, if you have a tech ability, we know there are people going to the new campus. We need your help with that, okay? And I could go through and list things like that throughout, but let us know. Don't be shy. Fill that need, that vacuum that's being left by the new campus starting, right? Powerful, powerful. Here's the next one, is the financial reality of what it takes for all of these things to happen, right? Which is going to be $1.1 million over 3 years, spread out over a 3-year window. And that gets us a fitness center, a renovated gym, a balcony, a new campus, a pastor, an intern, right? We get to keep a new youth pastor on our team, right? All that, right? And so you have to work through, and we together, the staff is in on this, by the way, our leaders, our elders, right, our steering team, we're all doing this together. You let us know what you're able to do, okay, financially. And this is over a 3-year window. You do this as a family. Let me just say this real quick to you. If you're here for the first time or you're a guest or you're not sure that Grace Church is your home yet, okay? If that is you, I want you to hear me with crystal clarity. There is absolutely zero pressure whatsoever for you to give financially to this. We're just pumped you're here. Do you hear me? We're just pumped you're here, okay? So we're not asking you to do anything except sit and watch. And we're like, thanks. Thanks for being here. That's a big win. For those of us who call Grace home, we recognize stuff costs money. It's real. It's just how it happens. A bunch of people already did this to get us into this building. Right? There's a bunch of people here that they gave, and their giving financed us having this space renovated so we can come under the shade of the tree of Akron East and be in here together. And now it's our turn to move into this next section. A question that I've been getting from some of you who've been around for a little while is here to there still happening? Let me just clear that up. Here to there is ending today. Think of it as ended today. And for the one is starting today. Okay, so think of it as like a perfect hinge, right? Or a seam. So you're going to be done with here to there. And if you said, I want to just keep giving what I've been given, but give it for the one, you'd have to end that commitment and then begin a new commitment to for the one. Okay, so you want to write that down. And this is kind of wild, guys. This is how a church operates. We're going to go and make real financial decisions, construction decisions, hiring decisions, because you wrote down numbers on this piece of paper. That's kind of wild. That's how a church works. Some of you are like, really? Yep, that's how it works, right? There's no organization out there that's funding us. It's real people that are here that give financially and make things happen. It's incredible. So you let us know what you want to do with that. If you have questions, of course, let us know. Also, I want to tell you that I don't see these numbers. Our staff doesn't. There's a finance team that sees these numbers, and that's it. So, right, you're not giving this. I'm not seeing how this is playing out. We don't want to see that or know that. You're going to have an opportunity as you wrap all this up today, guys, to turn this commitment in and to make that public. We're going to ask you in a minute, invite you, if you want to come bring your pledge up and drop it in these baskets, okay, if you have one. And if your pledge is, if you have any commitment, going, staying, serving, giving, whatever it is, any form or fashion, you can turn that pledge in, and we'd love for you to be a part of that. One more piece. We have these wood blocks up here, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to write down the name of our one, right? So here's your question. Who is your one? Who's somebody in your life or maybe in your sphere of kind of influence that you would think, man, I'm praying that person comes to know Jesus. I want God to work in a powerful way in that person's life. And what I want you to do is write that name down on this block of wood. We're going to collect all those blocks of wood from both services, and then we're going to make like an art installation. We're going to put it in the lobby, and we're going to remember the names that we wrote down and see what God does with that, okay? You won't be able to see the names, don't worry. They'll be hidden, okay? So don't worry about that part. But in a minute, what I'm going to do is the band's going to come up, and whether you want to pledge or not, we'd love for you to come up and write down a name on a block. But bring your pledge if you have one. Grab a block if you want one. And what you're going to do is write that name on that block of wood, and then you're actually going to put it right here in the front of the stage. Pledges go in the baskets. Blocks go on the stage, okay? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to invite you to do that as the song starts, as Jordan leads us into worship. And you're going to walk out kind of the sides here. If you're on the front, you can go all the way around the loop, okay? And it forms a line. That's no big deal. And you can work through here and then go back to your seat through this middle aisle is how we'll do it. And we'll just take as much time as we need to do that, okay? We're going to sing and worship and make this a worshipful environment along the way. If you need to grab me or one of us and ask questions, you can do that. I'm sure there's a bunch of you that are like, oh, snap, I forgot to bring my pledge, right? So in a minute, you can raise your hand, and we'll bring one to you. It's no big deal at all, and we'll bring one. And again, guys, no pressure at all. If this isn't your church home, we want to invite you to be in on this. Last thing, and then I'll pray, invite the band up. I want you to receive this invitation personally. This is between you and God. We together are chasing these big goals and projects for the one, but what I really care about is that you're responding to the Lord. It's between you and him. Will you hear his call to say, whom will I send? Who will go for me? And will you make this a big part of how you say, here I am, Lord, send me? The band's going to come out. Would you bow your heads, close your eyes with me? We'll commit together. Lord, thank you. Thank you, Lord, that even though you see the reality of all of our failure, all of our sin, all of our shortcomings, Lord, you don't just throw us away or discard us, but instead you do the opposite. You invite us into your family. And God, you invite us into the incredible work of seeing people move from hopeless to filled with hope, from death to life, those who've been lost to those who are found. And God, you use broken, imperfect people like us. And we praise you for that today. Lord, today we want to say, Lord, here am I, send me. Here's my time, Lord. Here's my passion. Here's my seeking after you. Here's our minutes of prayer. Here's our financial resource. It's all of it, Lord. Would you take and use what you've called us to offer back to you. We count you worthy of all that we are and all that we have. Meet us here, Lord, even now.